So let's have a look at histograms next, because they're quite useful if you've got an interactive plot. So if you want to do a histogram, again, we construct this with a single function where we pass in all the parameters. Okay, and I'm going to do histograms for the high volume products first of all. So I'm going to select product AFNL, and I'll plot that data using hvplot.hist. That gives me the histogram. So essentially, compared with the previous one, we're just changing that line to .hist, and then I've got to, that gives me the picture. Let's see the picture actually running. Okay, so there it is, and you'll notice that I've chosen in this one to make them partially transparent, so I can see one thing superimposed on top of the other one. So I can see where the blue and the green are superimposed, and where I can see where the orange and the yellow are superimposed. Sorry, the orange and the blue are superimposed. And this alpha, I can use the alpha to control that. So, and you can use this with other types of plot. This isn't just for histograms. I can use that for other types of plot. So I can use alpha is 0.5. That sets the initial transparency to about half transparent, so you can see one thing through. But I've set muted alpha to 0, which means that when I click on that in the legend for the histogram, it'll disappear completely. So it's completely transparent, so it disappears. Okay, let me show you that in here. Let's make that a bit smaller. And if I'm finding that A is getting in the way, I can click on that and it will disappear completely. Okay, I can get rid of L as well, and that will disappear completely. So it's a nice way of controlling the visibility of different histograms that are composed into the same plot, so that I can explore them more easily. Okay. Just as before, I can set up custom bins. Okay, so I can do that with the code. This is exactly the same code as before for setting up the custom bins, but now I need to pass that in as a parameter. So the calculations are no different. But I'm passing that in as a parameter to tell hvplot what the bin sizes should be, and that looks like that. And now this is I think the problem with, if you let it do those things itself, you can see as I zoom in. So this is the previous version. You can see that the alignment of the columns are not aligned to anywhere sensible. So they're not aligned where we'd like them, maybe on 10s and or 20s. If I do this new version, where I'm aligning them, I start at 250 and then I set them to be 10 wide, then I can align them everyone on the 10. So they'll be aligned on the tick mark. So if I run that example, and when it opens up, there it is. So now if I zoom in, you'll see that that's much more useful, because the bins are lined up on the tick marks. Okay, zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, so 500, 505, 510. Each bin is lined on a 10 unit, every 10 units. Okay, so that's putting the histograms together, and we can also do heat maps. Again, exactly the same. So we can get the correlation of the data and use hvplot to do a heat map. Set the heat map color map to give us the blue, sort of red-blue color map. If you don't do that, I think you get a sort of greeny, bluey one, which I don't particularly like. And I think what I've done, I've set the invert y-axis to true. That means that the only the only change that makes is that this diagonal goes from top left to bottom right. If you don't put that to true, it goes the other way, which is kind of the opposite of what we're used to seeing in our previous plot. So there's no particular reason to do that. If you prefer it to go the other way, that's fine. But I prefer it to go top left to bottom right. It makes more sense to me. And I can set the limits of this to be going from 1 to -1. So that's what those two parameters are doing. So the color map, as I said, it gives me this bluey red color map, which I prefer, and by default, as I said, the HV plots will go diagonal bottom left to top right, and I prefer it going the other way. The color map then matches the values in the correlation. So if the smallest is 0.5, it will be shown as the darkest blue, which I don't particularly like. I want the limit to go down to -1. So I want the really, even if there's no strong inverse correlations, I'd like that to go all the way down to -1. So that's why I put that in there. Okay, that's histograms and color maps. Let's move on in the next video to looking at how we compose plots together.